processed rather the first order to print 300,000 birth certificates for Namibia, and 100,000 of them have already been delivered to Windhoek. The government printing works is now printing secured vocational certificates for University of Eswatini and its other vocational colleges. The said foreign orders will add further impetus to the financially viable GBW and as required by and increase the delivery. To this end, the government printing works has engaged the Development Bank of South Africa to build additional factory space to house machinery, some of which has already been bought. And that whole project will cost 1.1 billion rand. Members of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs will recall that I had to appoint the advisory panel to investigate the collapse of the IT system within GBW, which led to the loss of sensitive information, including financial information. The management of the GBW is at work and implementing recommendations made by the panel. And I'm assured that no stone will be left unturned in reconstruction process of the lost information. The Border Management Authority, Honorable House Chair, has attained its autonomous status as a Schedule 3A entity of the Border Management Authority Act of 2020, with effect from the 1st of April, 2023. The BMA has transferred 1,850 employees from the Department of Health, the Agriculture, Environment, and Immigration Services, as envisaged in terms of Section 37 rather, of the BMA Act. In July 2022, the BMA introduced 200 trained border guards who have been issued with certificates as a third law enforcement unit with the task of monitoring ports of entry and exit. The BMA is in the process of recruiting further 400 border guards. Honorable Chairperson, I'm happy to announce that last week, the Minister of Finance made good of his promise. He has officially granted the Department of Home Affairs permission to issue requests for proposals to the market, that is the private sector, to start a massive redevelopment project of the 6 busiest ports of entry in the form of huge infrastructural development and technology injection. We'll be making announcement in this regard very soon. The project will cover Beit Bridge, Lebombo, Border Post, Oshhoek, Maseru, Fixback, and Kopfontein. This project will breathe life into the much vaunted Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The project will be part of the one-stop border post. It will be a multi-billion rand project whose actual cost will be known after the bidding process has been completed. As I said, we'll announce that very soon. The Department of Home Affairs is an integral part of the President's investment drive to kickstart the economy. Operation Vulindlela project has been established in the Office of the Presidency and Treasury, among others, to review and improve the visa regime of the country. Operation Vulindlela produced a report with recommendations which we have accepted, and we have posted this on the website of the department. The Department of Home Affairs has also rolled out tourist e-visa system to additional 20 countries. Now it means from now onwards, countries around the world will fall into 2 categories. There are countries that enter South Africa visa-free, but then the rest of the countries that are not visa-free will apply for tourist visas through an e-visa platform in the comfort of their homes. In this financial year, we plan to introduce the e-visa system for other areas such as business, study, general work visa, intra-company transfer. They will also go on the e-visa platform. Ultimately, all visas will be available on the e-visa system. Let's go to the Independent Electoral Commission. It is also expanding its expertise beyond the borders of the country, just like the government printing works. In this regard, the IEC is engaged with the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo to help share expertise and experience A visit to the DRC by the IEC is imminent. Honorable members, a democracy incapable of recreating itself is destined to impermanence. Vibrant democracies are those capable of redefining the terms of political engagements and reformulating processes of political representation. Such redefinition moments are also about responding to the pulse of the nation. The amended electoral system is not merely about rules and formula for translating votes into seats in our legislative chambers. The revised system is essentially about a nation redefining processes of political mandate and accountability. Fellow citizens who do not have an affinity towards political parties now have a window of opportunity for contesting elections as independent candidates, as they also have for provincial legislatures. The forthcoming elections in 2024 will serve as a litmus test for the new electoral system. The Department of Home Affairs is concerned about the long queues at its offices. The causes are many and varied, including the system downtime and load shedding. Relentless efforts are being made to address the difficulties. The department cannot afford to throw its arms up in despair. The Department of Home Affairs has engaged the services of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CIR, to devise both short and long-term solutions, including the DHH connecting to a different IT system. Yes, last year we announced measures, including 400 million rand expenditure by CETA to try and refresh its network. We are engaging with them every day, and CETA has informed us that by the end of March 2024, they will have completed their network refresh. But we are not sitting and waiting for CETA alone. That's why we are engaging eminent structures like the CSIR, because they've got that capacity and capability to bring a change. Honorable Chairperson, as reported before in this House and other public platforms, the Department of Home Affairs has deployed 120 mobile trucks, and an additional 100 has already been ordered. And as I'm speaking, it is being manufactured in a factory in Gqeberha. The number will be gradually increased every year. I said before, and I want to repeat, Home Affairs have always been having 100 trucks throughout the ages. We will not stop increasing them until we have got at least 1,000 of them. The purpose of the mobile trucks is to ease congestion in the DA offices, is to render services such as issuing and printing birth certificates, identity documents, death certificates, and related services, especially to remote rural areas, also to help you, honorable members. Many of you ask for mobile trucks when you visit your constituency offices, and we want to be able to serve you, that every member who goes to a constituency office and think there are people there who need IDs because they deserve them, we will be able to help you. We also want to render services in a faster mode. Digitization. Honorable members, the President, in his State of the Nation address, as you remember, announced digitization of more than 350 million paper records. Records on birth, marriage, death, IDs, and passports. That stretched back to 1895, which the department is keeping in its vault. The digitization project will employ 10,000 unemployed graduates in the field of IT and documentation management. The first group of 2,000 unemployed graduates, which have been trained earlier this year, have already taken up positions and are already working. Currently, as I'm standing here in front of you, another group of 4,000 are undergoing interviewing process in order to get engaged. The advert of the remaining 4,000 will be published by the end of May. That is in the next 2 weeks. will be putting out adverts for the last cohort of 4,000. As we said before, this project will cost 2.4 billion rand over the next 3 years. High volume scanners have already been purchased and delivered, and those scanners are capable of scanning 100,000 pages per day. On the issue of international migration, citizenship, and refugee protection, members of the Portfolio Committee are aware that I've appointed the Ministerial Committee on the issuance of permits and visas, which was led by the former DG in the presidency, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, covering the period between October 2014 and 31 December 2020. The committee recommended a multidisciplinary team, which has already been appointed. We have already procured that team, and that team is to go deeper into the findings in a form of forensic evidence, such that after this, we expect arrests, deportations, cancellation of visas, permits, and passports irregularly and fraudulently obtained, and that will unfold very soon. Honorable members, the issue of migration remains a burning issue in South Africa and within the global community. The issue has been debated by the Portfolio Committee in the House on several occasions. The strength of the South African economy in the continent becomes a pulling factor for international migration. The number of illegal foreigners in South Africa is very high. The Department of Home Affairs has completed its work on the immigration, citizenship, and refugee protection policy. This policy framework will be gazetted for public comment very soon. The 3 pieces of legislation, namely the Immigration Act of 2002, the South African Citizenship Act of 1995, and the Refugee Act of 1998, are obsolete and will be completely repealed. The same applies to related legislation, such as the Identification Act of 1997, the Birth and Death Registration Act of 1992, a new single legislation dealing with immigration, citizenship, and refugee protection will be introduced, as is now the international trend. The new legislation will strengthen and set standards for a standard high for appointment of persons occupying bodies dealing with immigration and refugee protection. Procedures dealing with immigration and refugee protection will be tightened to ensure speedy decision-making processes, including appealing arising thereto. The periods which decisions are taken regarding asylum and immigration or granting of visas applications are unacceptably high. We have accepted that. The defects in this regard lie in the said 3 pieces of legislation. The new single legislation will address all these difficulties, including establishment of specialized immigration courts. The current practice of migrants challenging the unfavorable decisions in a long drawn-out court process will also be discouraged in the new legislation. Finally, I make use of this opportunity to thank my colleague, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Njabulani Nzuza, the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, the CEO of Government Printing Works, Ms. Alina Fossey, and the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Masia Pato, and the Chairperson of the IEC, Mr. Musutu Muyepya, and his CEO, Mr. Mamabolo, for their unwavering support. I also wish to thank the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs, Mr. Musa Chabani, and honorable members of the Portfolio Committee for working very well and doing effective oversight. We are asking you to keep it up because we are together in this whole process. Honorable Chairperson, I hereby table for the consideration of this House an amount of 10,863 million rand for budget vote number 5 of the Department of Home Affairs. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next speaker is the Honorable Chabane.
House Chairperson, honorable members, Minister and Deputy Minister, the Chairperson of the IEC, Commissioner of the BMA, CEO of Government Printing Works. This afternoon, we hold this debate with heavy hearts, the reality that death has visited one amongst us, one of the brightest and most committed revolutionary who once served the Department of Home Affairs as a Director General and other institutions within the security cluster. Comrade Billy Masetla was a diplomat of great repute whose life was dedicated to serving his people, his country in pursuit of excellence, honor, and integrity. We join the ANC family in extending words of condolences and comfort to his family and entire Congress movement. We rise to present an account of work Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs have undertaken in the course of our oversight work and a collective resolve to provide solutions within the legislation framework this House has since passed. This report on budget vote is presented at a time when our economy is experiencing what Governor of Reserve Bank described as being parallel to that of global economy, with high inflation and slow economic growth, which has negative impact to the life of the poor. As we consider this budget, we do so under no illusion that all is well. In the course of our previous financial year, the Portfolio Committee has identified challenges that must be confronted and overcome to ensure that the Department of Home Affairs achieve its mandate of being an enabler of economic development and national security. The Portfolio Committee has considered and approved the budget vote for the financial year 2023-2024 to account to an amount of 10.8 billion that accounts for 4 programs in line with the annual performance plan and strategic objective of the department, including its entities such as Independent Electoral Commission, Border Management Authority. This is an increased allocation compared to the previous year allocation to implement the priorities identified by the ANC-led government. However, it excludes Government Printing Works as is not allocated from the fiscus. On the occasion of the first State of the Nation address of this administration, the President called on all South Africans to service, to strengthen the gains attained since the realization of a hard-fought democracy. And I can confirm, House Chair, that the Portfolio Committee has indeed headed the call by ensuring effective oversight over the work of the department and all its entities. House Chairperson, as the Minister has indicated, high amongst the identified challenges are the long queues that South Africans continue to experience while visiting home affairs offices and the frequent downtime of network across the country. On the positive front, we are pleased that the department has affirmed the committee recommendation that the critical service of the department must be brought closer to the people. Amongst others is the procurement of mobile offices aimed to cover about 778 visiting points to augment the department's access model and strategy. However, we've noted network challenges in some of the mobiles, which the department has since developed plans to mitigate. The committee has recommended that more attention and budget allocation must be dedicated to the network challenges so that the citizen access services, in particular from rural areas. Efforts to bring modern and advanced systems in the management of identity in our country must be pursued at all costs to ensure that services of Home Affairs are fast, efficient, and secured. The Portfolio Committee is concerned on the delay of the finalization of the automated biometric identification system. This will negatively impact on the introduction of facial recognition and latent searches, which is meant to assist the law enforcement to easily catch criminals and prevent the swapping of photos in the process of passport application. On that score, the Portfolio Committee welcomed the department's action plan to conduct assessment with the CSSR on the entire ICT infrastructure that amongst will reduce the downtime, and this includes on the performance of contracted service providers. Another success is a strategic decision that the department has taken to open offices in malls such as Maponya and Manley. This is commendable as progressive and welcome this intervention. The committee has called the department to prioritize modernizing offices to shopping centers located in such areas as Matatiele in Eastern Cape, Sabi in Mpumalanga, Makado in Limpopo, for better access for service to the citizen. The Department of Home Affairs, House Chairperson, is an important enabler in effort to unleash investment critical to economic growth of our country. The goal set by the president to double international tourist arrival on the department roll out world-class visa regime, which must be realized this year. The department must strengthen the standard operation and monitor performance on the contracted service provider, the VFS minister, which facilitates the application for clients who want to apply for permits and other immigration products. Minister, this is a major challenge that we've identified during our oversight in your offices. House Chairperson, although challenges identified by the committee, in quarter 3 and 4 reports, the department has demonstrated sufficient performance, and this includes progress on the recommendation by the Leadership Report to fight against corruption within the department and the syndicates who continue to manipulate the Home Affairs system for purpose of securing illegal documents. As indicated by the minister, the BMA has been allocated 1.3 billion, which is not sufficient to overall implementation of its strategic objective. The committee has expressed concern with the National Treasury during our strategic planning, and we appreciate the engaged process currently with the two institutions for further allocation to enable BMA to execute its mandate maximally. We take note on the progress that has been made, that has been recorded since the establishment of the Border Management Authority. Our points of entry remain critical pillars of efforts to safeguard security of our country. Hence, borders such as Bedbridge and Limpopo in Mpumalanga continue to be strategically important for the success of the intra-Africa trade agreement. Given the budget shortfalls allocated to the BMA, the department will continue to support the BMA through absorbing most of the corporate function in order to realize its target as outlined in the annual performance plan. House Chairperson, IEC remains one of the well-managed institutions, and it continues to be mainstay of our democratic order since it was established in 1996. Having conducted 5 national and provincial elections, 5 local government elections, including the numerous by-elections at ward level. The tabling of the budget come on the back of the clean audit that was attained by the Electoral Commission. Audit outcomes are important that they give assurance to us as a body entrusted with oversight that the resources that we appropriate and entrust in the care of institutions are being utilized in a proper manner. IEC has been allocated 2.2 billion rands that speak to the priority facing the evolution of electoral democracy in the country. This amongst the need to make proper arrangement for the coming elections in 2024, which will be for the first time include participation of the independent candidates in the election of national and provincial legislatures, since this assembly has passed the Electoral Amendment Act to bring electoral scheme in line with the Constitution. Those amendments have implication for the system used to administer the election, as well on the number and the permutation of ballots, papers that will be used in upcoming elections. House Chairperson, considering the task ahead, the 2.2 billion budget is not nearly enough to fund operation of this entity. In the current financial year, the IEC has absorbed about 240 in their budgetary cuts, impacting directly on the public education, workshop, and training. Despite this shortfall, we must welcome the assurance from the National Treasury that has provisionally approved the retention of the 2022-2023 budget allocation surplus to assist with funding pressures. This retained budget will assist to roll out voter registration, the revision of the electoral information communication technology, and the recruitment of election staff, amongst others. House Chairperson, in between the year 2020 and 2021, government printing works was faced with instability and lack of governance protocols to some identified by the Auditor General. On this score, we must appreciate the collective work of the Portfolio Committee for having exerted oversight work with the objective to stabilize this institution. We support the joint efforts by the GHC, National Treasury, and the Auditor General for monitoring action plan in relation to the financial loss of data, including the Ministerial Review Panel recommendation. And we can account that thus far progress has been recorded. The recent preliminary outcome of the Auditor General Minister indicates that the committee must pay more attention with the objective to retain credibility and healthy governance, in particular on its financial records. As the minister has outlined, the portfolio committee commend the government printing works for expanding its services across the borders. On the legislation front, the committee will be seized in this quarter with the electoral consequential amendment, which will include the review of the political party funding. Members, in deliberating this budget vote, we must make sure that the programs and legislation we've adopted are geared toward the vision of creating a people-centered society. The adoption of this budget will give South Africans hope and access of service from the Department of Home Affairs and all its entities. The ANC support this budget.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Kanyile.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Minister, your decision to grant the United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Nahyan approval to land Ebulembe Airport together with his 500 guests was illegal. On the 5th of May, 2023, you appeared before the Portfolio Committee and admitted that you did not publish a notice in the Gazette for public comment for a period of 30 days on your decision to designate the airport as an entry point. You justified this unlawful action by claiming that you used your own interpretation of Section 9A of the Immigration Act, read with Section 30 of the Border Management Authority Act, and Section 8 of Immigration Regulations. Your admission that you did not obtain legal opinion makes your misinterpretation of the law even worse. Minister, Section 30 sub 3 of the BMA Act states that, I quote, the minister must, prior to an approval in terms of subsection 1 or 2 of the immigration regulations, publish a notice in the Gazette for public comments for a period not less than 30 days, close quote. The provision of the law is not optional, and you clearly failed to comply. What's more, Section 8 sub 2 of the immigration regulations state that a designation of any place as a port of entry shall be published in the Gazette. Minister, the law says any place. It doesn't matter whether it's a permanent or a temporary point of entry as you claimed. In trying to justify why a special arrangement was given to a private visit by the UAE royal family, you claim that they were bringing investment to the Eastern Cape. I wonder which investment you are referring to, because the royal family just came to have fun at their private game farm, carrying with them their own food, furniture, cars, and gym equipment. From now on, the DA has put you on notice. Any special requests that are to be made to your office for special access to South Africa without following the law, we will not hesitate to approach the courts. We simply cannot allow lawlessness to fester because someone has paid the right price. South Africa is a country of laws and it cannot be sold to the highest bidder. Minister, despite the introduction of smart ID cards in 2013, 10 years later, South Africans born outside of South Africa as well as permanent residents cannot apply for the smart ID cards nor access the online services of Home Affairs. For identity documents, this category of applicants still have to rely on the old green ID book, which still remains difficult to obtain. We are aware that Home Affairs has modernized most of its offices, but green ID book applicants must still travel 200 kilometers or more to be able to get documentation. Itself a gamble because of system downtime that has not been addressed and load shedding. It's simply cruel and disdain for Batupili principles when we let our own citizens travel 400 kilometers and return home without being assisted by any Home Affairs officers. To prove that the system is not working, we are yet to be furnished with names of offices that still supply green ID documents despite submitting the request 2 months ago. This department has forgotten about the communities in the rural areas with the highest number of unemployment, where people are expected to travel more than 200 kilometers to access their nearest Home Affairs offices, notwithstanding the system downtime brought about by the struggling online system and load shedding. While mobile units were trumpeted as a solution to assist far-flung communities, repeated calls by members in the committee to increase their footprint across the country have fallen on deaf ears. On 3 occasions, we requested that mobile units be brought to Gauteng, only for Home Affairs to bring one without a generator backup. In Mpumalanga, one was bought with no card payment device. Rural communities who came for assistance were left stranded and were instructed to visit their nearest Home Affairs office, which is about 40 kilometers away. Many couldn't afford to pay for public transport. In the Eastern Cape, members of the community were advised that department wasn't going to be able to provide a mobile unit. Residents also advised that on occasions when the department had brought one, they could not access even one application because their system was struggling to connect to the network. On numerous occasions, we have requested to be provided with the schedule on these mobile units, but our calls have simply been ignored. Why is the department failing to provide the schedule if the mobile units are in good working order? We have also highlighted the need to assist fathers who are indigent to be provided with funds to pay for their DNA test, as this is a requirement to prove paternity when applying for their kids. To date, we have not received any response. The department is denying the indigent fathers a right to obtain documentation for their children. Not only this, there still remains massive backlogs of permanent resident applications, despite the assurance we were given in early March 2023 that more officials have been appointed to help with adjudicating outstanding applications. Yet, here we are in May 2023, and we are yet to get any responses to the queries that we submitted in 2022. This is a clear demonstration from the department that they have no intention of finalizing these applications or address the backlog, which they always blame on the COVID-19. This is despite the fact that, according to reports, the outstanding applications that date far as 2016, when COVID was not even on the radar. While we welcome the appointment booking system introduced by the department, it has proven to be a dismal failure because in most offices, applicants are expected to wait in the queue with everyone else with no appointments. The failure to address this appointment system is a failure to address the long queues in the Home Affairs offices across the country. The Democratic Alliance will ensure that every person entering our country enters through the correctly designated port of entry, and where a special arrangement is required, we will fully comply with the Section 30 of Immigration Act. Ensure that smart ID cards applications are open to South Africans born outside of South Africa, as well as permanent residents. Mobile units are properly equipped and the schedule is made available to enable members of parliament to conduct an oversight. Indigent fathers who provide sufficient evidence of their status are assisted to pay for DNA tests. Allow officials to work overtime, that is on Saturdays, to address the backlog on permanent residence application. Ensure the appointment booking system is implemented appropriately to allow applicants with appointment to receive service at their allocated time.
Please,
Curb long queues. I thank you.
can you please talk to me?
Thank you, honorable member. Order, Honorable Mashego. Calm down, please. Calm down. The next speaker is the Honorable Techana. The honorable member will deliver a maiden speech.
Thank you,
Order.
Chairperson. The Commander-in-Chief of all economic freedom fighters in South Africa, in Africa and the diaspora, the top 6 officials, the Central Command team, and all ground forces of the EFF. We send our heartfelt condolences to the family of the EFF, the family of Honorable Apleni, who we have lost in the last week, who was a treasurer of the EFF in the Eastern Cape. Honorable Chair, we reject this budget vehemently as the EFF because we see no life-changing decisions. We see no actions against those who are involved in wrongdoing, including yourself, Minister Botubu. We see no improvement except in structures who look beautiful on the outside while they are offering nothing on the inside. We watched your administration. We watched your administration clapping hands for themselves for having achieved targets. Ndati aba seba karutoka in order to collect a paycheck for themselves at the end of the month. We have seen corruption running unstoppable in your department by the same people who are tasked with national security. There's an old saying that says, chickens have come back to roast. The State of Capture Commission told you what many competent IT companies alleged, that the contract awarded to EOH was unlawful. And the new leadership of EOH agreed after an investigation that indeed they had committed errors, they had committed corrupt activities. What further makes things worse, Honorable Chairperson, is that EOH decides to opt out of the contract with the state. However, it undermines all of us. It undermines the Department of Home Affairs, undermines Parliament and the people of South Africa, recommending a subcontractor of theirs, which is called IDEMIA, to take over the contract. We are not fooled by your department, Dr. Mtsoaledi. Your department is a hub of corrupt activity with no action. There's the IDEMIA is failing you, and the contract should have been terminated, and those involved be brought into book. There has to be an investigation by authorities on IDEMIA activities and the links inside the department. If you didn't know, IDEMIA was appointed by EOH as a subcontractor. All of you know about it. The department took a decision that no, after EOH gets out, they are going to make a recommendation that IDEMIA must take over this contract. Irrespective of whether in terms of law it is correct, but it is wrong. How do you take a failed subcontractor who was part of the contract and say they must continue? That's why they are failing today. They can't do what is expected from them. Izolo Oko, if you didn't know, your department is characterized by long queues, and we all have seen it. Yourselves, the committee, have been saying to you that we have long queues and you are unable to deal with them. Izolo Oko Secunda office. You can go to Durban, Commercial City office. There was full of queues. You can go to Lusikisiki, the newly opened offices of Lusikisiki, which are supposed to be a light in terms of what Home Affairs is supposed to be doing. Yesterday, there was nothing happening there. Our people were turned back. Utatu Tekana was a Ward 1, Enguzahile Makwaleni. Ukwela nga rand, i-return yake, ukuya nokubuya ekhayeni kaSiya kwa-Home Affairs. Xa ifika izolo na izolo linye, ufika i-office zingasebenzi. It's not only in Lusikisiki. It is a character of Home Affairs that we see every day. It's just that you are in denial. We went to the visa application office. We went to the visa application offices in Pretoria with the committee. What we saw there is disheartening. You could even imagine being in a classroom in 1995, where 3 people are occupying 1 computer, as if you are not dealing with visas. 3 looking at 1 computer. It's like you are in a school back in 1994. It's wrong. We can't pretend as if everything is good in your department, Dr. Mtsoaledi. You need to act on corruption. You need to act on yourself. We need yourself to be arrested. The first culprit that must be arrested, especially in relation to your age contract, is yourself, your deputy minister, and the administration. I see them at the back there. And those administrators at the back, because you have messed up that contract. That contract must be terminated with immediate effect. The EFF is celebrating 10 years of anniversary in July, and amongst other activities, the EFF will be hosting a
Honorable members, order.
The EFF says, I'm worth 500,000. I don't know what your party is worth. I'm worth 500,000. You are invited to my table to come and watch and listen to the EFF. What is the EFF going to do in government? Let's end corruption.
Order,
Let's
honorable
end
members.
maladministration. Let's end incompetence. Let's vote for EFF in 2025. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. The next speaker is the Honorable Van der Merwe. Order, honorable members.
Honorable House Chairperson, may I take the opportunity to first and foremost greet the former Minister of Home Affairs, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Umntwana wakho apha eNtangeni, who joins us on the virtual platform. He was the best Home Affairs Minister that we had. The Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, the Deputy Minister, the DG, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, colleagues, good afternoon. House Chairperson, there's no doubt that South Africa faces a deepening rule of law crisis. And while the world watches, our beloved country is fast at risk of becoming a failed state. The importance thereof of a healthy, modern, well-functioning Home Affairs Department therefore cannot be overemphasized. Yet the reality is that this department is far from healthy. IT systems are continuously offline. The department lacks the best basic legal support. Corruption remains endemic. Our documents, our very sovereignty, faked IDs and passports are still being sold for just a few R100s. The Lubisi report into permit fraud has highlighted how syndicates have overseen the issuing of permits themselves. Honourable members, imagine that today there are members or people in our country with fake visas and it's business as usual for the ANC government. They will appoint another body to look at these fake visas and eventually suspend them. But the report was tabled to Parliament more than a year ago. But probably the most notorious feature of the Home Affairs Department remains its hellish long queues. Every day, thousands of South Africans rise at the crack of dawn to take a day of work and school, using their last bit of money to travel to a Home Affairs office. They do because vital documents stand between life and death for many. Documents stand between South Africans and a job opportunity, between South Africans and securing a grant and putting food on the table. When the online booking system of this department fails, and when the Home Affairs call center isn't working, and because the department has not extended its footprint to banks, there's simply no other option but to join a queue. At many offices, there's no shelter, no toilet, no generators, no chairs, and no guarantee of being helped, but a real possibility of being mugged. Another of this department's failures is its inability to manage migration. Yes, Honourable Minister, migration is an international issue, but it's South Africa's inability to effectively manage migration that is a national crisis. During a joint historic sitting to Parliament on 18 September 2019, President Ramaphosa spoke to our immigration crisis and he gave us a number of undertakings. Now, almost 4 years later, nothing has come of it. People are still compete against those who sell counterfeit goods at prices they cannot match. Immigration officials are still taking bribes. The trucking and hospitality industry, as an example, are still employing people who are not supposed to be working here in South Africa. And nothing has come of your interministerial task team, Minister, that you and the Minister of Labour were chairing. The physical infrastructure, honourable members, of our borders are missing. Therefore, ask yourselves the question, how successful will the rollout of the Border Management Authority be when there are no borders to speak of? The BMA will also not be receiving the billions needed to make it itself fully operational. Minister, with record high unemployment rates and almost half of South Africans relying on some type of grant alone for their survival, it really begs another question. Why has your government and your department not acted decisively to implement our laws and to protect our citizens? The growing presence of undocumented workers undercuts local wages, while an unregulated environment allows businesses to hire them. This in turn results in South Africans being denied jobs. It is this government's gross failure to implement its own immigration laws that has contributed to South Africans being condemned to unemployment lines and to SASSA queues, proudly brought to you by the ANC's governance failures. It is really a painful reality that is the state of our country 29 years since the dawn of our democracy. It is clear that urgent reforms are needed. This department must increase its accessibility. It can start by increasing its footprint with banks, by increasing its call center capacity. We need to clamp down on corruption. We need to ensure that this department has a legal team fit for purpose. Minister, we need the immigration reforms that we keep on talking about. We must regulate foreign ownership and participation in certain types of SMMEs. And we need to reserve entry-level or no-skill job opportunities for South Africans. Chairperson, in closing, it is clear that the ANC's failure strikes at the very heart of our democracy. They impede the development of our people, they hamper social cohesion, and put at risk the safety and security of our state. Mark Twain
Honorable
once,
member, your time has expired.
thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Mulder.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Order, honorable members.
Minister, members, during the annual debate of the budget vote of the Department of Home Affairs, I always measure the performance and budget outcomes to the mandate of the department, namely being the custodian protector of the identity and status of citizens and other persons resident in South Africa. And secondly, the department's ability to control, regulate, and facilitate immigration and the movement of persons through the ports of entry. The Freedom Front Plus welcomes the fact that the committee mentions a state or a series of fundamentally serious issues, which is in line with what is reported in the media about poor performance of the department, which is reason for serious concern. Officers with a branch booking system does not work properly, and walk-in inquiries could not be assisted. The call center of the department is rather dysfunctional, calls not answered, and clients frustrated. Queries forwarded by members of parliament to department on behalf of frustrated members of the public is unanswered and should be accounted for. The department is unable to track undocumented migrants of persons whose documents has expired and is not able to deal with companies that employ undocumented employees. Long queues are a daily occurrence at Home Affairs offices, and regular downtimes frustrate members of the public to unacceptable levels. Mobile offices are without power backup systems and cannot function when load shedding occurs. There's a huge backlog with the issuing of birth certificates, travel passports, are issued late or not at all. There's an enormous backlog with the process of considering working permits, the staffing level, and our Honorable Chair, I'm concerned about the fact that these reports has been sent to us, to the members, in a Word format. So this document could actually be changed or altered somewhere, and some inaccurate information sent out to the world. And one of the things that I'm worried about is, I read here that the department has got a staffing level of 36%. Do you think that's maybe tampered with, or is it 36%? It makes it virtually impossible for the department to fulfill its mandate. Chair, the Department for Home Affairs should ensure that the IEC is capacitated well to conduct a free and fair general election in 2024, and that the issuing of identity documents are therefore not frustrated. If only 25 million South Africans out of 40 million is registered to vote, these are now South Africans who are over 18 years old. If only 25 million of them are registered out of the 40 million, and the IEC aims to have 29 million registered for the 2024 election, democracy has already failed. A government with a mandate of less than 37% of citizens who are eligible to vote does not represent democracy. Chair, the department has already failed its mandates to such an extent that extraordinary measures to address the serious state in which the department finds itself should have been implemented years ago. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable member. The next speaker is the Honorable Zungula. Is the Honorable Zungula on the platform? It's not on the platform. We'll continue. The Honorable Deputy Minister of Home Affairs.
Honorable House Chairperson, the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Mtswaledi, members of the executive, the chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, the chairperson of the IEC, the Director General and the Management Complement of the Department of Home Affairs, the Chief Executive Officer of GPW, the Commissioner of the PMA, honorable members, fellow countrymen and women, House Chairperson, the budget we are presenting today empowers citizens and residents of South Africa to claim and secure their legal identity, without which no one is able to prove their existence and meaningfully interact with the universe. This budget gives identity and affirms existence to our newly born citizens, and thereby securing the future existence of our motherland. This budget allows our youth access to education and allows citizens access to economic services. The budget we are presenting enables our citizens to travel the world, driving economic growth and solidifying our existence and influence in the global world. The allocation of the department's resources to its key programs in this budget vote allows us to contribute immensely to the improvement of the lives of our people. Over the 22-23 to 24-25 medium-term expenditure framework period, the indicative allocation grew from 9.4 billion in 22-23 to 9.75 billion in 24-25. The allocation of these resources allows us to consolidate our gains by continuing to deliver services and products vital to the socio-economic well-being of citizens and residents, in line with the objective, priorities, and commitments outlined in the medium-term strategic framework of 2019 to 2024. House Chairperson, we have always been prudent with the resources allocated to the department. This is evidenced by the 5 conservative unqualified audit reports received by the department over the past years. So lest you talk about corruption, consider that we have been getting unqualified audit reports. Over the medium term, the department will continue to focus on securing international migration, modernizing our ICT infrastructure to ensure integrated planning and efficient administration, reduce fraud, and ensure the timely issuing of permits and visas to facilitate economic growth and job creation. We have over the past spent 100% of our budget, evidenced by the latest audited results for the 21-22 financial year. The additional funding of 837 million spread in the financial years 22-23 to 24-25 received from Treasury has allowed us to ease our capacitating pressures in our frontline offices. So we have grown the staff, Honorable Mulder. The 23-24 budget allows us to broaden access to services, expansion of footprint, and presence in health facilities throughout the country. And in that regard, we have made meaningful gains for the parents of newborn babies to register their children within 30 days as required by the law. Despite COVID-19 impacting negatively on our self-financing activities, which we use for the health facilities footprint expansion, we are happy that now we are back on course and we project to raise 800 million, some of which will go towards the footprint expansion in health facilities. In the 21-22 year, we had set a target of registering 700,000 new beds within 30 days. We, however, surpassed this target, registering 1,018,718 beds, of which 78.5% of those beds were registered within 30 days. This percentage is an increase from the 73.7% of the previous financial year. The budget we are presenting will allow us to build towards normalizing early bed registration above 90% by the year 2024. Honorable Chairperson, acting on our previous commitments, we have rolled out the branch appointment booking system to all of our offices that process smart ID cards and passports. Out of the nearly 7.3 million people who access services such as birth and death certificates, IDs, and passports from the Civic Services branch, over the last year, 1.2 million of them did it through our branch appointment booking system. This is backed by our research as commissioned through a customer satisfaction survey, which confirms that there are positive developments towards achieving a one-day service in our frontline offices, meaning that most of our clients are now being serviced better. House Chairperson, it is important to remember that our department has come a long way in ensuring that our people receive the best services and products as directed by the Constitution. Through these gains, we have managed to expand our Smart I3 drive to schools to reduce the number of pupils who write grade 12 examination without ID documents. To achieve this, we have implemented the department's multi-channel strategy mobile offices, which continue to be deployed to geographical areas with a population threshold of 40,000 and below. Most of these areas are in the rural and far-flung areas. This deployment intended to assist clients mainly on Smart ID cards application and other departmental services. We are currently running a fleet of more than 120 mobile units deployed across all provinces. Out of this number, an additional 20 mobile units amounting to more than 33 million will be procured in the 22-23 financial year, and there are plans to procure more than 100 mobile units to the value of about 167,000 in the 23-24 financial year. This we can never be able to achieve without this budget, which allows us to advance better service to our clients and residents of South Africa. By making use of the mobile units, we've been able to target learners, ensuring that those doing grade 12 are able to sit for their exams, having their Smart ID cards. During the past financial year, we visited 3,254 schools, working in partnership with the Department of Basic Education. The additional mobile units purchased and the ones to be purchased in the 23-24 financial year will extend our reach greatly to enhance our school ID campaign. In the past financial year, the budget enabled us to visit 865 sites where there is no GHC footprint as identified by the hybrid model. So ayasebenza lama mobile unit. There might be issues, but ayasebenza and figures are telling us so. This budget will enable us to expand our efforts in issuing Smart ID cards to our citizens. I am pleased to announce that since the inception of the live capture system in 2013, the department has issued more than 21 million Smart ID cards to South African citizens. The replacement of old green barcoded ID books with the new Smart ID card action plan remains on track, with new milestones set for each year. Honorable members, the 22-23 budget allowed us to issue a total of 2.6 million Smart ID cards, surpassing the target of 2.2 million that was planned. Of the 2.6 million Smart ID cards issued, 914,367 were first-time applicants, comprising mainly of the youth. This is indicative of the impact we are making in the lives of young people of our country. This we can never do without the resources and the budget we are deliberating on today. The 23-24 budget allows us to continue exploring new ways to better service our clients, which is our citizens. The kiosk with the built-in components devices compatible with GHC system and in line with GHC specification has been delivered and is on site in our Pretoria office. The kiosk user interface application has been developed and tested. The applications allow for the interaction between the client and the machine during the application of services. Chairperson, we are exploring partnerships with more institutions. It gives us great pleasure that we concluded the mainland office and it was subsequently opened in this previous financial year, indicative of our commitment to bring services to the people. As part of our footprint expansion program, focusing on purpose-built and state-owned home affairs offices, we are glad to announce our infrastructure build program is aligned to the DDM service delivery model. A new fit-for-purpose office is being built in Taung in the Northwest Dr. RSM District Municipality. Other offices in Limpopo, in Thohoyandou and Makopane and Watuguza, KwaZulu-Natal, or Chairperson, indeed we are moving in making sure that we increase our infrastructure. The surveys commissioned by the department indicate that there is improvement in staff conduct, and the department's leading academy through the previous budget was able to achieve the following in making sure that we increase the capacity of our human capital. 303 officials trained on leadership management development, 434 officials trained on immigration services skills program, 515 officials trained on customer call, 581 official trained on civic service skills, 915 on ICT, 21 newly appointed adjudicators trained for the permitting unit, 63 of them being deployed to missions have also been trained. All these trainings that improve our human capacity are made possible through the proper use of these resources. This budget, Chairperson, ensures that we continue to play a leading role. I mean, the ID for Africa multi-stakeholder movement, which promotes digital identity in Africa. South Africa has been leading in terms of its demographic database, the NPR, as it was discovered upon analysis among other African countries. That South Africa is way ahead in terms of civic registration. South Africa was able to demonstrate through its modernization program the techniques that lead to the issuance of smart ID cards with the latest technology and security that has not been cracked thus far. It is for this reason that South Africa is being used as a benchmark for other African countries. In terms of its latest technology, we are ahead of our peers, Chairperson, more especially when it comes to civic registration. However, Chair, we are not being triumphalist because Martin Luther King teaches us that our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face challenges of change. Hence, we are always striving to do more and get better. In conclusion, House Chairperson, I would like to thank the Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi, for his continued leadership, support, and guidance, the Director General, and the entire management team of Home Affairs, Government Printing Works, and the Border Management Authority for the tireless work that they continue to do. I wish to also thank the Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs for the oversight and constructive contributions and advices on how we can better improve our service offering. I would like to thank the department stakeholders and the public who continue to work with us tirelessly to implement the mandate of the department. House Chairperson, Home Affairs is too important to all of us, from the unborn to the living and the dead. And so as members of this House, we must carry the responsibility of always making sure that this institution works. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Sheikh Imam. Honorable members, there was a time where the noise levels were high. I just didn't want to stop the Deputy Minister. Can we try and keep it down?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and allow me to thank the department for your presentation here today. Let me start off by saying Palestinians coming to South Africa need visas with stringent conditions, but the Israeli counterparts do not require visas, despite them being a serious threat in South Africa, training in the military in Israel. But let me talk about the good news first. Now, first of all, Minister, I want to thank your DGs, both in the passport section and immigration, Mr. Yusuf Simon and others. Had it not been for them, the German child Amir Hagen would not be studying in this country today. It is because of their intervention, this child was able, this 13-year-old child is able to get a study visa to study in the country. Allow me to also thank you for Musina Bibi Sheikh, who incidentally is going on pilgrimage next week. And thanks for the intervention of your department. A passport was issued timelessly. So, but my concern here, Chairperson, is this. I've heard a lot of complaints. And yes, there's a whole lot of work needs to be done. But in order to do that, you need the resources. Now, it is our responsibility to give this department the resources so that they can deal with it. Have you ever in the last 5 or 10 years of the number of mobile units being rolled out? Never in your life before, but it's being rolled out today and you don't pick it up. Let me talk about people illegally in the country. Why are we not attacking the South African National Defense Force? There's no border control at all. There's no fence. People are walking over. Is it the Home Affairs Department to go and stop them? Or is it the South African National Defense Force who's supposed to be patrolling them? Let's look at the counterfeit goods that are here and the people that are illegal. Is it not the responsibility of the South African police services to work with it? Or is it the Home Affairs problem? Let's look at the complaint you got about no network on the mobile units and everything. Yes, it's true. But why are you not complaining to the Department of Energy? Because we all are facing a crisis. It's not the Home Affairs. Well, what can they do about it? You need to sort the problem out. So like that, now you've heard what the minister said. The number of units he's rolling out this year, the number of units he's rolling out next year. Yes, there are queues. There's no doubt about it. But you cannot sort this over at the amount of work that this department under this minister has done in the last couple of years was not done 10 years before that. I can assure you that. That is the progress I see. And let me tell you, every time you call for the intervention of this department at a higher level, I promise you they act timeously and appropriately. I can assure you they act and they return your calls and they act immediately. So let us not complain about people. What we should do is come together to provide them with the assistance so that they can do a better job. They don't have the tools of trade, but you're expecting them to provide the goods. How are they going to provide the goods?
Thank you very much.
And all the problems are created by this side. All we do is we attack.
Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you very much. The NFP supports this budget vote tabled here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Honorable Lefase.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members, and all the officials from the Home Affairs Department. We join the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Musa Chabani, on Home Affairs to urge this House to adopt and to support the report of the Portfolio Committee on the budget vote of the Department of Home Affairs. This budget vote debate is dedicated to the celebration and commemoration of the 60 years since the formation of the Organization of African Unity, the OAU, which is now the African Union, in this month of May, the month of Africa. Today, many African states have attained their freedom, and the African people are marching towards the economic integration of the continent. This is part of the agenda of the rebirth of our continent, conceptualized in the AU Agenda 2063, with the aims to build Africa as we want it to be. The former President Thabo Mbeki reflected on South Africa under apartheid in his inauguration speech in 2004, and he said, I quote, open quote, "For too long, our country contained within it and represented much that is ugly and repulsive in human society. It was a place in which happiness could only break through, in short, briefly striking across the skies like a dying comet. It was a place in which to be born black was an inherent in a lifetime course. It was a place in which to be born white was to carry a permanent burden of fear and hidden rage," close quote. The ANC that I belong to represent the antithesis of this ugly and repulsive system in human society that apartheid regime represented. The democratic government led by the African National Congress has developed and implemented policies since 1994 to create a better life for all our people. Today, we stand proud that our people are enjoying the fruits of democracy. Our people are able to realize their potential without prejudices based on the color of their skin. When we celebrate 29 years of freedom and democracy, we are doing so mindful and conscious of the challenges we are faced with. The democratic government has done so much, and yet a lot still needs to be done. We know that our political opponents will find it very difficult to acknowledge the undeniable reality that South Africa of today is different from the South Africa before 1994. Indeed, when you govern, you encounter a lot of challenges, but it is important on how you deal with such challenges. Using a metaphor of football, a spectator is always a best player, but when a spectator enters the field to play, the practical reality confronts the spectator. Issue of immigration affects many countries across the world, including in our own country. The reality is that people will move from one country to another for various reasons, including as tourists, workers, and other socio-economic realities. There are pull and push factors that contribute in the migration of persons from one country to another. What is important is that all countries of the world, including our own country, will open their ports of entry and foreign nationals to come into other countries for various reasons. It is equally important that this movement of people between countries must be managed in human way and within the parameters of the law. For our case, we have established a border management authority, which is known as the BMA, to integrate and to coordinate border management in accordance with the Constitution, international and the domestic law. This integrated and coordinated approach will ensure that the roles of the various state institutions are executed, they execute their responsibility at the ports of entry, work in tandem towards the common objective. The BMA will ensure the collaboration and the coordination of the work of the Border Management Authority, SAPS, SANDF, and other border authorities to deal with the issues of migration and border control. As this budget vote takes place, the BMA has been formally established as Schedule 3A of the public entity as from the 1st of April this year, 2023. The authority will focus its spending over the period ahead on deploying 200 additional border guards and gradually operationalizing the corporate back office with senior positions. The ANC-NEC held its Lekgotla in January this year, and amongst the policy that is prioritized is the financial year, including the matter of laying the basis of the consideration of harmonizing the migration and the refugee laws. We are encouraged that the Department of Home Affairs is in the process of finalizing the white paper to deal with the challenges of migration and refugees. When we deal with the issues of migration and refugees, we are moving from the position that South Africa will always open its port of entry for foreign guests to visit South Africa, to work in South Africa, and to stay in South Africa. We are also informed and guided by the AU Protocol of Free Movement of Persons, which outlines that foreign nationals of member states should enter or leave the host country in accordance with the laws and the procedures of the host country. The economic integration of our continent can only thrive in an environment of legality. We must encourage all our citizens to travel between our countries with the necessary traveling documents. The harmonization of our immigration laws is intended to address the challenges we encounter with regard to migration, as well as codifying the AU protocol. We also wish to indicate that challenges that relate to the backlog, especially in the visa application, are of concern. During our oversight visit to the Home Affairs offices in Pretoria, we took time to engage with the staff and officials of Home Affairs who are responsible for processing visa applications. We draw courage from the work and the knowledge that the Department of Home Affairs has prioritized addressing the challenges of visa backlog. This is also intended to implement the recommendations of the Lubisi report relating to visa applications. We appreciate the fact that there are common mind and we are in common understanding with the department on the importance of fast-tracking visa applications, as this will go a long way in facilitating investment in our economy by foreign investors, as well as facilitating tourism and work visas. We conclude by reiterating our support as the ANC for the adoption of the budget vote 5 of the Department of Home Affairs and its entities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speaker is Honorable Nyonzo. Honorable Nyonzo. The next speaker then will be Honorable Hendricks.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I must deeply commend our Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, who has opened his heart to listen to matters brought to him by Al-Jamah. He indeed has the spirit of Ubuntu in him. The minister will be leaving a legacy behind that he has started the process to restore the dignity of Muslim wives and children born out of a nikah. The minister and his department are now putting processes in place so there are equity amongst all women in South Africa. One can but only support this budget, and we see the start of the dramatic processes in the Department of Home Affairs. We also understand that the department is keen to provide sensitivity training to their staff so they can better deal with the public, and Al-Jamah is confident that as this is done, It will improve the image of South Africa locally and internationally. The Muslim community eagerly awaits immediate legal consequences for the nikah and legislation to entrench this. Immediate relief has already started. The entry on death certificates of Muslims in the nikah will now say married and not the indignity of saying never married, even if they're married for over 50 and 40 years. It cannot be that a community that has been in South Africa for over 350 years are discriminated against even 29 years into a democracy. Al-Jamaa applauds the Constitutional Court. Parliament must not be in contempt of court, and we applaud the executive for interim arrangements to restore the dignity of Muslim wives. The founder of Islam in South Africa, Sheikh Yusuf, is a recipient of the Companions of Oliver Tambo Medal in Gold, and Haji Urzi Ali, my grandmother's dad, gave the ANC its name. And Imam Abdullah Harun was murdered while in detention for assisting resistance fighters of MK and PAC and Azapu. These national heroes' struggles has not been in vain, as their community dignity is said to be restored. Al-Jamaa is grateful to the support of the official opposition for their support of the Muslim Marriages Bill and Honorable Singh for his encouragement. Al-Jamaa supports this budget as our women are getting back their dignity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Hendricks, part of the reason why you should stand here is that when I stop you, you look at your time, you don't accuse me that I've stopped you before. So next time I would request that you come to the front. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Honorable Rose.
Thank you, House Chair. The vision of Home Affairs is a South Africa where identity, status, and citizenship are key enablers of citizen empowerment and inclusivity, economic development, and national security. On all these counts, Minister, you have failed. You have failed to ensure that the most vulnerable are documented and have access to opportunity. You have failed to deal with the visa backlog, killing economic opportunity. You have failed to safeguard our national security as the likes of Bushiris walk in and out of South Africa. And you would expect to see bold measures in this budget to address these issues. Instead, this budget continues to fund a cycle of cadre deployment, corruption, lack of caring, lack of basic services, and no consequences. I was reminded of the tragic consequences recently when a person who'd been trying to apply for late registration of birth for 4 years and eventually got it, having been refused access to hospital for those 4 years, was diagnosed with cancer. Had it been detected earlier, the South African would have survived. But no such problem for Thabo Bester, the man who arranged another body in his prison cell on his own, pretending that it was his own. And when it comes to considering his late registration of birth, our minister just takes his word for it, that he's the Thabo Bester born in a Soweto hospital in 1986. No need for DNA testing. And when the DA calls for free DNA testing for the poor, you are as evasive as the Guptas. We need a Home Affairs that cares, Minister. We need a Home Affairs where every person is important. You say this is because of undocumented foreign nationals, but it is you. In a 2015 briefing in Parliament, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Fatima Chauhan, said, and I quote, "We are going to make screening more difficult because most who are taking up late registrations are failed asylum seekers who have not left the country." So you said that your failure to deal with these asylum appeals was an issue of money, and then you received 146 million rand. And by September, almost a year later, had processed less than 1,000 of the 131,000 outstanding appeals. In the meantime, South Africans are being put through hell to try and register their births. 6 years after the Project Lokisa report exposed rampant corruption at Home Affairs refugee offices, what has happened to officials who make money out of keeping this problem going? Under the ANC government, the number of companies patrolling our borders has been reduced from 35 to just 15. You now have a border management authority that is capacitated by millionaire managers and 200 so-called border guards. Now, if undocumented foreigners are streaming in, why don't we hear about mass arrests by these 200 border guards? And if they're posted at our border posts, why do we receive daily complaints of corruption and lack of staff at Lebombo and Osuk? You allow undocumented foreign nationals to enter at will and lock out investors, unless, of course, they are UAE royalty. We need a Home Affairs where every person is treated like royalty. The DA will take this funding of millionaire managers and increase border patrols and force multipliers. We will explore an e-verification system for employers to check work permits, and we will decisively process the appeals of failed asylum seekers. Minister, you have successfully presided over an environment where everything is for sale at Home Affairs and put our country's national security at risk. We see Pakistanis being arrested on national television for producing fraudulent documents, but ANC cadres doing exactly the same thing inside Home Affairs offices get to leave with all their takings as you refuse to press criminal charges. The 2019-24 strategic framework lists an apex priority of Home Affairs as supporting economic transformation and job creation through the implementation of a revised visa regime and issuance of visas and permits to grow the economy. This is not economic transformation and job creation for cadres, but for all South Africans. So why is it taking so long? A survey conducted by MBO partners found there were around 4.8 million digital nomads worldwide in 2021, and they spend an average of 55 to 90,000 rand a month. That's an estimated 5 billion rand per month. Every month we wait that could potentially be going into our economy and the thousands of jobs that go with it. Minister, you are right. Government printing works does deserve recognition. Since you deployed the CEO by waiving the financial requirements of the role, GPW have lost audit data, all their audit data, not once, but 4 times. As you dabble in legal opinions, I would recommend you consider the defense of insanity if you believe it's going well there. Deputy Minister, you celebrate your audit results. I just want to inform you that an outstanding audit result that GPW received, it doesn't mean well done. It means that it wasn't even handed in. The only economic transformation you seem to be interested in is the transformation of the bank balances of the cadres you deploy at the Department of Home Affairs. And the bottom line is South Africans are losing their work because you are not doing your work. And the ANC caucus here keeps asking us, when will this change? When will this happen? It will happen after the 2024 election, when the Moonshot Pact sweeps to power and sweeps out the rot once and for all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable members, I have not called you. I have not called you. Honorable members, please be advised that Honorable Likhwase left 3 minutes, which she wishes to donate to Honorable Pillay. Honorable Pillay, you have 13 minutes.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, Chairperson of the committee, honorable members of the House, leadership of DHA and other entities, compatriots, comrades and friends on various platforms, good afternoon. The ANC rises in support of Budget 5 Home Affairs. On May 25th, 1963, the Organization of African Unity was established with a permanent headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie was elected as the first president of the OAU and said this as part of his acceptance speech, and I quote, "This is indeed a momentous and historic day for Africa and for all Africans. We stand today on the stage of world affairs before the audience of world opinion. We have come together to assert our role in the direction of world affairs and to discharge our duty to the great continent whose 250 million people we lead. We present this budget vote in the month of May, Africa Month, and promote the strengthening of building relations and forging partnerships. This budget vote of the Department of Home Affairs and its entities is an unwavering commitment to provide civic services to our people, to deal with issues of migration, refugees, asylum seekers, and border control. As the ANC, we place the lives of our citizens first. We ensure that priority is given to the demand for services from government departments. We also attain to make processes simpler but efficient. We are mindful that South Africans will be going to the polls next year to consolidate the democratic gains made since 1994. This democratic government has ensured that every 5 years, South Africans of voting age exercise their right to elect the government of their choice. For the past 29 years, South Africans have entrusted the ANC as the organization that represents and advances their hopes and aspirations. The ANC will continue to champion the people's interests beyond 2024. The Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, has delivered credible elections since 1994, and we have no doubt that it will deliver free, fair, and credible elections in 2024. The IEC's budget for this financial year is 2.2 billion and is housed in 4 programs bearing 14 outputs. The IEC budget will provide for, amongst other things, 2 registration weekends, one in 2023 and the other in 2024, revisions to electoral information communication technology, voter registration and education, the launch of communication campaigns, and the recruitment and training of 50,000 registration staff for the upcoming registration weekends. Now, Parliament has recently passed the Electoral Amendment Bill, and the IEC will accommodate the operational and financial implications of implementing this bill. This includes the rewriting of ICT business applications, particularly the candidate nomination system to include independent candidates and signature requirements. In this regard, we urge all South Africans who have not been registered to register to vote and to participate in the elections of 2024 to defend our democracy and build a better future. It is important to emphasize that the Electoral Amendment Bill, as signed into law by the President, is in essence implementing the Constitutional Court judgment to make provision for independent candidates to participate in the national and provincial elections. Contrary to the naysayers and the prophets of doom, who are hell-bent in believing their own theories of Parliament never meeting the extended deadline, this committee worked hard around the clock to ensure that the 2024 elections will indeed see the inclusion and participation of independent candidates. Chairperson, what the Constitutional Court in the New Nation judgment pronounced is now common sense. The court was not prescriptive on the electoral system to employ. It left the task with Parliament. One of the important take-homes in that judgment was that whatever system to be chosen must follow or must allow for independent candidates to stand and hold public office. This we have achieved. It would seem that some within society would want the amendment of the Electoral Act to go beyond what the Constitutional Court ordered Parliament to do, calling for an electoral reform. I must emphasize that the Act has amended and makes provision for the discussion and process of reforming our electoral system as outlined in the bill. The Electoral Reform Consultation Panel will be set up in the coming months and will commence with public participation after the 2024 elections. We also commend the Commission's plan to undertake extensive civic and democracy education and communication campaigns ahead of the 2024 national and provincial elections. This will go a long way in empowering the voters to exercise a constitutional right to choose the representatives of their choice. Now, Government Printing Works facilitates implementation of the legislation that governs the production and management of identification, citizenship, and travel, which are developed by the Department of Home Affairs. GPW has to date managed to engage SADC countries with a strategic intent of expanding its footprint into the SADC regions. GPW revenue was forecasted to increase at an average annual rate of 16% from 1.426 billion to 1.6 6.54 billion, GPW was set to generate 5.51 billion in revenue over the medium term through business operations. The BMA. In the post-apartheid era, the country border management system of cooperation and coordination between various stakeholders was not robust enough to circumvent the challenges that arose from the influx in movement of legitimate and illegitimate persons and goods through South African borders. To this extent, we must applaud the minister and the committee on the successful implementation of the Border Management Authority, the BMA. The BMA was listed as a Schedule 3A public entity by National Treasury. Frontline immigration, port health, agriculture, and environmental functions were incorporated into the BMA through a Section 97 proclamation. Honorable Chairperson and fellow South Africans, I will be doing injustice if I did not highlight the gains and successes of the Department of Home Affairs. There are indeed good stories to tell. The introduction of Home Affairs offices in shopping malls has taken services to the doorstep of our communities, ensuring that we leave no community behind. The opening of smart offices include our rural areas and townships. A recent visit by the committee to the Menlyn Mall DHA office has left every member, including the opposition, in awe of the services offered. The efficiency and smooth processing of applications and collections is what every South African longs for. This has now become possible and is largely owing to the rollout of the branch appointment booking system, BABS, which was piloted in December 2021. These results encourage DHA to roll it out to all offices that process smart ID cards and passports. Of the nearly 3.1 million clients who applied for smart cards and passports last year, 39% of the clients who were assisted with the new applications was through the BAB system. The department also made sure that nobody is left behind by ensuring walk-ins in our offices are still assisted. We intend to make the system available on all platforms in order to cater for our communities that may not have access to internet and smartphones. The department has further provided for tablets at all offices to assist clients in making their bookings. Now, let me respond to some of my fellow members. Honorable Kanile, I said this in the committee and I'll say it again. Why did you not kick up a fuss about a German delegation that landed in the Western Cape? Is it because the Western Cape is a province run by the DA and that the Eastern Cape is a province run by the ANC-led government? How is it that you would only question the UAE, but not a German delegation, while your premier has been boasting on every media platform about the billion rands of investment that is bringing to this province by the German delegation? Why are we selective about who enters our country? Stop being biased. Furthermore, we have opened offices in rural areas. And you, Honorable Kanile, are one of the members that have made use of our mobile units in your constituency. But yet you come here and you grandstand, asking us, where are these mobile units? We have pictures to prove that you've used these mobile units. But then again, you have to please your masters here in the chamber. But in the committee, you praise and commend the departments. Honorable Dejana is new to the Home Affairs Committee, and we appreciate that. What should have happened is that Honorable Tito should have given you a brief before you came to the committee, so that you would have been able to understand exactly what the entities are doing and have been doing. Also, don't mislead this House that there was one person to a computer, as you found. There were actually other staff that came in to be trained on that particular day. Hence, the person who was one person on one computer had to be training the other staff members. And you know that because you even asked this question. Honorable Lazal, it seems like you have not been present at committee meetings. Honorable van der Merwe, it sounds like you have not been present at committee meetings. Because if you were there, members have been briefed on the success that the department have made in respect of fraud and corruption. The many operations and syndicates cracked. Further, staff have even been dismissed. You make it sound like there's no functional DHA in this country. How then has the department been able to overachieve when it comes to issuing smart cards to the tune of 2.6 million? Overachieved. Thank you, Honorable Sheikh Imam, for acknowledging the gains made and the successes. Here is a member who is not even part of this committee, but appreciates the work that we do. Honorable Ruiz, I think you were not paying attention to the Deputy Minister. He gave you factual stats. First-time applications, what does that mean? Citizens are being documented. Successful arrests as a result of operations that are planned and executed by this same minister. Hence, there has been staff disciplined and even dismissed senior staff. The ANC has declared this year as the year of decisive action to advance the people's interests and renew our movement. Today, we remember and celebrate the architect of our democratic order, Comrade President Oliver Reginald Tambo. We acknowledge OR's relentless commitment to South Africa's freedom embodied in a non-racial, non-sexist society free from all forms of discrimination. Long live the undying spirit of OR Tambo, long live. The ANC supports this budget vote. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, the next and the last speaker is the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, who now has got 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members, for your inputs. Honorable Kanile, I always took it for granted that at your level, you will understand simple things. When you are convinced that somebody is breaking the law, you don't put them on terms. You drag them to court or go to law enforcement agencies. If you are called, what is this story that you broke the law, we are putting you on terms, you are putting you on terms? No, that's not how you fight when somebody is breaking the law. If you are convinced that the law indeed has been broken, the issues of our trucks, you know very well as a member of the committee. All our mobile trucks come with inbuilt generators right from the factory, all of them. If one of them one day has got a generator that is not functioning, that is not headline news, which you are making it to be. It's not headline news. All of them are ordered with even the hundreds that are being made in Kabeja as I'm standing here. They are putting generators in them. When they go to your constituencies, they come with generators. Honorable Techani, you know, the chairperson introduced you nicely as coming to give a maiden speech. And I was very excited that you are coming with new ideas. Now, I get very surprised, as Honorable Pile has said, you just start by deliberately misleading people on something that is so simple. You were there on that oversight. You find 3 people on a computer. You ask a question, you did ask, and say why, and they told you no, the other 2 are in training. They are being trained. Do you hate people being trained? Do you hate that? They told you.
Honorable Minister.
These other 2 are being trained.
Honorable
they are not
Minister.
sharing a computer.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Do that, man.
Minister, just a second. To say to Honorable Techana is deliberately misleading the House is unparliamentary. Can you please withdraw that?
Okay, I withdraw.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but don't do that because you know the truth. The second thing, as Honorable Pile has said, the EOH program on ABs, we are the ones who instituted a forensic audit. It was read to the portfolio committee 2 times at least, not by me, by the people who did the audit themselves. They put everything. Now you are talking today as if you have discovered something, you know, that is out of this world. You keep on saying, no, did you know that Abis, did you know? As if you are getting your information on Chebis. The information is not on Chebis. It is not on Chebis. It was given clearly in a portfolio committee meeting. Even the explanation of how IDEMIA came about. So don't do that. Yes. Honorable Lizel van der Merwe, I just want to, honorable member, to remind you that the Lubisi report did not come by accident. It was also not a media expose. It was not brought on the wheels of inevitability. It came about as a result of our relentless and incessant fight against corruption. That's why you know what happened. And we'll keep on doing that. That's why people were fired. That's why there's a recommendation that a multidisciplinary team be put together who goes very deep. And today here, in the budget speech, I announced that they've started the work. And the end result is that there will be arrests, there will be deportations, there will be retrieval of government documents that have been obtained fraudulently. All that is our work. Please, we are asking you to acknowledge it, because it's as if something that just came about and happened by accident. I even explained to members of the committee how it came about that the Dr. Lubisi report was put up. I even gave you all the investigators who were in that report, including people who were investigating for Zondo Commission. And they brought it in front of you and said, these are our findings. And we're busy on them. One day we'll be coming here and giving you the results of that finding. Honorable Rios, you know, this story that Home Affairs has failed and failed. The deputy minister here was giving you stats. Where were you? 90% of the kids that were born in this country in the past financial year, they received their birth certificate within 30 days of birth. What do you want? The other 10% received them, but after 30 days of birth, not because we are unable to do so. We have put Home Affairs offices in hospitals. Yes, so that when babies are born, they can receive their IDs there. This year, people were celebrating the success of SARS in revenue collection, about 1.5 billion rand. Do you think they will have done that without a functioning Home Affairs? Everything that they did there, identification came from Home Affairs. There's none of you here who can stand up and claim that you never went overseas because we failed to give you a passport. You can't. We give a passport within 5 to 13 days immediately. If need be, we can give it within 24 hours. You can't claim. All of you here has got IDs, which you report from Home Affairs. If you go to universities, every single student here who's studying in a university or a TVET college has got an ID from Home Affairs. I don't know what you call this failure. Now, Honorable Rios, I don't know why you sing this story of DNA every day, and we explain to you. You are misleading people who are not in the committee. That the only way to identify somebody on the LRB, late registration of birth, is a DNA. How many of you here have been given IDs? Did you want your DNA? Why do you think every time we must be doing DNA? We don't. We told you that Bester, Thabo Bester was identified because of the mother who gave birth to him in Kisani Baraganath Hospital in 1986. We told you that. And you keep on singing DNA, DNA. We told you the process of late registration of birth is to get documents from hospitals where you were born, maybe from churches if you ever attended them, from preschool, Sunday schools, from all over. And we give that document to a special tribunal in Home Affairs. That special tribunal decide on the basis of this document whether they give you a birth certificate and register your birth late. Only in extreme cases, we do DNA. In extreme cases, can you imagine every South African you meet, you keep on doing a DNA? No, that's not how things are done. But for your information, because I want you to set this matter to rest, right? I want you to send this matter to rest. Vesta's DNA matches the DNA of the mother who gave birth to him in 1986. It matches. It was not done by us. It was done by police. Do you want us to repeat it? Yes. It matches that lady who is Vesta's mother. The DNA matches 99%. Why do you want us to repeat it as Home Affairs? Let this matter come to rest, but learn in future that people are not only identified by their DNA, they are identified all. I mean, if the records in hospital are here that this lady came in and gave birth to this boy, why should we query it? What of human beings are we? You don't just oppose for the sake of opposing. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. That concludes the debate and the business of the mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.